Welcome back, Legion. Why willpower is a waste of time? Do you often feel like a lack of motivation, like you really struggle with self-discipline? Do you really struggle finding the willpower to do the things that you know you should be doing? Do you kind of feel like if you had this endless willpower and self-control that you could become the person that you truly want to be? I'm going to have a chat to you guys about willpower and what that means. And if you kind of answered yes to any of the previous questions, I think this might be able to help you out. What do you currently believe around willpower? Do you believe that willpower is heavily based around self-control and being determined and being resilient and being able to say no and just show really good discipline? While you're not wrong, they are obviously the characteristics of willpower, and it's a great way to describe willpower. It's not necessarily those factors that get you to use willpower. Willpower, in fact, is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to sustainable change. Now, willpower is obviously important in regards to big changes. If you want to change something big about your life, think, losing a large amount of weight or gaining a large amount of strength or achieving a big sporting goal like, winning a final or just being best on ground or playing your absolute best. It's important to know that willpower is more of an expression and a byproduct of developing a growth mindset, having a supportive environment, building good habits, and having the knowledge to execute. Willpower is kind of like the tip of the iceberg. It's the last piece of the puzzle. So ideally, you're working on good mindset, environment, habits, and knowledge prior to focusing on willpower. Today we're going to discuss and just focus heavily on willpower because it is the tip. So we'll start from the top and you can work your way down. So it's often thought that willpower is a finite resource that it can run out. The example is often you've had a big day at work or at school and you come home and you're really tired and you know that for dinner you should have a nice little healthy blend of good quality proteins, lots of vegetables and some smart carbs with some healthy fats. You know that this is what you should do, but because you're so tired and drained and you can't be bothered, you either pick before dinner and have some snacks, or you just bail out completely and just go straight to the Uber Eats. We're all guilty of this, and it's perfectly fine. It's totally natural. You don't need to stress about it. There's been some previous research to suggest that this is kind of how willpower works. I think the most famous one is the cookie and radish experiment, where college students were assigned to an experiment, and one group would go into a room and they had a choice between eating the cookies or the radishes, but they were well and truly allowed to eat as many cookies or radishes as they want. Then another group got sent in and they were specifically instructed not to eat the cookies and only eat radishes. These are freshly baked cookies, they smell really nice. So the outcomes were that the radish-only group were very compliant and they didn't eat the radishes. Then both groups were asked to come back and do another little experiment, but they were told it was kind of a separate experiment. It was an experiment between where the high school students are smarter than college students, and college students obviously took offense to this and wanted to prove a point. It was basically a mathematical puzzle that was pretty much impossible to complete. Like, you couldn't possibly complete it, but that wasn't the point. The point was to see how long each group would try for. And the way it turned out, the cookie group, those who ate the cookies, were able to last a little bit longer, on an average of 17 minutes. trying to solve this puzzle, whereas the radish eaters were closer to an average of 8 minutes. Now, what the authors thought at the time was this was ego depletion. So basically, they had just run out of self-control or willpower. So when they had another task, basically directly backed up by it, they wouldn't be able to sustain an effort for as long because they'd already drained it, not eating the cookies. New research is probably suggesting that this is not quite right. This study's been repeated over a few times, and it's been shown that doesn't always work that way. Sometimes people still have the power to continue to go. So we have to ask the question, well, why is this? And it's actually to do with the way that we actually frame willpower. Now, what I mean by this is, if you believe that you have limited willpower and your willpower can run out, it will. That is a true statement. On the flip side, if you believe that your willpower is infinite and you can grow your willpower and you have really strong willpower, self-control and discipline, then you will have infinite amount of willpower. So there is no real on-off switch here. Your mindset can either drain your willpower or it can power it up. That's a really interesting finding. So here's some things that you can do to help supercharge your willpower. First is to reframe the way you think about willpower. What is your definition of willpower? How does it affect your actions when you go to do something? How can you positively spin willpower so that when you regularly demonstrate it, it becomes this bright spot in your day? 2, think of different ways to promote a different viewpoint of willpower and motivation. E.g., when I complete my tough daily tasks, first, I feel accomplished and productive. So I'm trying to reinforce to myself that, I can't really be bothered and I don't want to do these tasks because they are hard and they take lots of time. But when I do, I feel really good about it. And that's that self-talk that you can generate, that generates a little bit of that motivation. By actually taking that action, you're now demonstrating willpower. 3rd point, use that viewpoint in different contexts. Use it with your nutrition, use it with your training and your sport. So with nutrition, it might be like you open the cupboard and you can see that there's a nice healthy snack in front of you, or there's a chocolate bar. Now, by spinning it, yes, obviously eating the chocolate bar gives you that instant gratification. It's maybe a little bit nicer tasting and it feels good for that small period of time. But how good would it feel to have the healthy, nutritious snack that'll give you more sustainable energy, and it might help you achieve your nutritional goals if you're trying to lose weight, for example. So by looking at it like, I should eat this, and when I do eat this, I feel really good about myself, versus if I eat the chocolate bar, I don't feel as good about myself. So it's resetting this mind frame. 4th, the next time your willpower is feeling low, think about how you can give it a bit of a boost. So think of the times that you were really successful. Think about how you can replicate those successes, and then when you do, celebrate them. Celebrate your success. Give yourself an internal high five, or even share with your support network. Hey, look at this, look what I did. Get that good feeling, get that endorphin rush from making a positive change. Willpower is just another tool that you can use to empower yourself to make positive change, especially when you couple it with things like self-compassion, positive self-talk, and social support. Find yourself a coach that can help you through this process. Like I said before, willpower is only the tip of the iceberg. There's many other things that you can work on, but it's a really good place to potentially start, or even better again, work on those other things first. Like we said, mindset, environment, good habits, and knowledge, and then your willpower will be at its absolute strongest.